All right. What up? What up? We have PoE updating. That's going to be a bit. God damn, 10 just already? Yeah. And that's 11. How we doing? You guys like the new waiting room? Highest kill streak leader. Damn, 11. GG, good game. All right. So I was going to stream yesterday, but I kind of decided to work on a YouTube video instead. So that is out now. Just on, it's like a summary of the reveal stream and patch notes as it concerns minions. So today, A, I want to check this video out, and B, I do want to figure out what's. Oh look, the video is here. I do want to figure out what I want to Leaguestart, because like I have no idea. I was playing around last time I streamed with the idea of going chaos mages, but all things considered, I think, knowing myself, I want to have a permanent minion, and he has to be a good bosser, because we're going to be doing T17, well, T16.5s, which are basically T16s with T17 modifiers and memory strand stuff. So we need to have a really good build for that. That means a permanent build that does a lot of damage but is also tanky. Plus I'm a sucker for leech, so it's going to be a necromancer. Otherwise I might have considered guardian. If I can figure out regen on guardian, then I might actually try that one as well. But for now, we're going off to the assumption I'm doing necromancer. And realistically, the build that has the highest chance of filling these checkboxes is Wretch Defilers. If it ticks every one of these boxes, especially if we're going up to like, what do you call it, Doriani. You know, I saw 0036 and I got very confused. I'm like, what? Then I saw the 6, I was like, yeah. All right. So what was I saying? So yeah, the build that is most likely to fit all these check boxes is Wretch Defilers. So it would be a Writ Lord setup, which means I'd have to deal with getting a Writ Lord early and all of that, and that could be expensive. So we'll see. I'll play around with different ideas. What do you think of Anime Guardian build? I'm not a minion expert, but seem interested for AFK Blight and stuff, but not sure how the budget will work. Anime Guardian builds. So that would be Chains of Command. I think Chains of Command will be very strong this season, unironically. Like, I think it's actually going to be insane how good it is. Because one of the biggest problems with Chains of Command is the lack of defensive support, or for coming from your specters, which you can't use specters. You can't use, no specters, no, or there is AG, no golems. And previously we'd rely on golems for PDR, for regen. We'd rely on specters for auras, for again PDR. All these things kind of lacking. I think I heard guys say it's possible to respond and then go back to the era, so I think it should be fine. Yeah, fingers crossed. Just based off of the wording in the patch notes, I'm inclined to believe the same thing. It should be, you can leave, respawn your AG and go back in, and that should be fine. But you never know, they might just make it so he poofs when you go in and then you have to resummon him after the map. It's GGG, you never know. But it is likely we can do that. But anyways, as I was saying about Anime Guardian, it's going to be stronger than it's ever been, realistically. And I don't know if we can give our mercenary auras. That'd be the one thing that kind of has a large impact. What do I mean? With Chains of Command, we are giving our AG a weapon, and that weapon is going to get animated as swords that kill stuff. Now, I have a build that is, I believe, Poison Chains of Command, and I use a self-crafted one-handed dagger that uses that makes elemental damage poisonable or something interesting like that. But now we have different sources of so many different sources of damage conversion from minions, especially elemental to chaos, now that we no longer need to make a sword like that, and we can go for a two-handed AG weapon. This means our mercenary who is going to support us can have something along the lines of a Kingmaker for crits and for fortification. Now, for the actual Chains of Command, I've played around with many different weapon ideas, but realistically, what's the name of that? Was it Shaper? Is it Shaper Sword? Void Forge? Was it? Is it Void Forge? It's not Echo. There's Void Forge, there's Star Forge. I think it's Void Forge. Yeah, this guy. This one has been the staple Chains of Command sword for a long time for elemental hit builds. And being able to use this and a Kingmaker or some other weapon on the Merc that increases this weapon's damage. Not to mention, the Merc can also help you resummon your swords if you were to ever run out of them, because your AG would still have Gravebinds, right? Going with that for AFK Blights. Yeah. The thing with AFK Blights, you know the interesting about AFK Blights, you do not even need too much damage for AFK Blights. What you actually need is a high chance for explosion. If you can get really good explode chance on your AG, AFK Blight becomes very simple, because you're kind of relying on the explode damage to clear the bosses, not necessarily their damage. Like, their damage is really good and should be able to kill the bosses, but they can't be everywhere at once, and if they're split up, it becomes very iffy. So the actual goal for AFK Blight is to have a very high chance to explode, so that when they kill something, there's like a chain explosion, and then the bosses are surrounded by all these trash mobs that chain explode and kill it, and then it dies and explodes, of course, and then that keeps the chain going. That's kind of how it works. What if you have a lower chance? Yeah, exactly. So they do like Arsenats, Maven Boots, Legacy of Fury, Explode Chests. But I'm honestly not even the biggest fan of Arsenats personally for a Chains of Command. And the reason I'm not the biggest fan is, for the Explode Chain to happen, your AG needs to hit. Now, if your swords are killing around you quicker than your AG can get to it and kill, and hit rather, you won't get the Explode Chain. Whereas with Gravebinds, you will get the Explode Chain regardless, so long as he's in range. You will get the kill, and then you can trigger the other sources of explode. Mage Skelly. Mage Skelly is an option. I'm not the biggest fan of the Mage Skelly tech with, what's it called? With Fresh Meat. Not the biggest fan, and the reason I'm not the biggest fan is you'd have to scale duration on the mages enough to where your fresh meat lasts long enough. But the problem with that is if you have something as low as, let's say, 3 to 4 seconds. I think I have a mage skelly character potentially in standard that I can show. Do you even still exist? This was my very first build ever, by the way. This character, this level 100. It was a poison skelly mage character. Oh shit! Colin Ferreira for the T1 sub. Appreciate you. Welcome. How you doing? Okay, so we have equipment, but we have no passive skills. Um, do we still have the gem though? This is Spectres. I think I was testing something at some point. I suspect this used to be the gem, but having been here since like I haven't been here since they made transfigured gems, so this probably got changed during that time. So yeah, I don't have mage skellies here. Do I have a character that has mage skellies? I feel like I do, because I feel like I remember having to use them at some point. But I don't remember if it was settlers or not. These are my settler characters. None of these would have had it. Anyways, I just wanted to show something, but the TLDR why I'm not the biggest fan is when it comes to fresh meat uptime, the moment it falls off, you have a dead link. Like straight up, that link is not providing anything for your minions. And if you only have like a 3-second, you know what? I know I have the exact. I have to use my channel, but I think I had an intro that showcased exactly what I am talking about. I have to go all the way down. Poison mage skellies. Was it this one? Is this the one that had... No, this is not the video. That's not the video. It's slightly older than that. It's not this, it's this guy. 2 years ago. Such an old video. But anyways, that they have a spawn animation which eats into your fresh meat time. Now this spawn animation is anywhere from like 0.5 seconds to a second. Like, look at how long it took this skeleton to actually start attacking. Fresh meat time is going. So your whatever the time you have for fresh meat uptime, minus 0.5 to 1, right? Just straight up. Now, if you have minus 1 second, that means you only have like 3-second uptime, and you summon like 3 skeletons at a time, right? This means that you kind of have to rotate your 11-ish, 12-ish skeletons every 3 seconds, give or take. Like every 3 seconds of their attacking for you, like every 4 seconds. And that's a very spammy playstyle. And I'll get very tired of it very quickly. Like, and then not to mention, you can't even properly use Val summon skellies because you summon the entire horde. They all come out, they are ready to attack, and then dead link. You know, they attack if you hit and then dead link. So that is why I'm not the biggest fan of that. Now, if you can get the duration up to like 100 seconds, maybe 100 is pushing it. If you can get it to like 70 seconds, maybe 60, then it becomes like, okay, it's not as spammy. You have time to do other things. So maybe cast off, like even in the cast offerings situation, and you're using, let's say, Arcanist Brand, you drop Arcanist Brand, your mana is actively going, you're actively trying to spam Skellies, and it's a very, it's too active of a playstyle for me. So that is my thing with Mage Skellies, and it would bother me if I'm not actively keeping fresh meat up, because I use fresh meat in Pox League with Bama, and I saw the damage drop whenever I let the Bama clones run out, and that's Bama clones, you know. They already have like a very decent duration, and I'm scaling like from 30 seconds upward to like it's very easy to hit like 60 seconds and 6 minutes uptime, yada yada. It was still very hit or miss, especially in boss fights, but they will have an advantage over Bama in that you do not have to move or go stand where you're supposed to and then go away, because I was using blink arrow, not mirror arrow. They have the advantage of I point there, they summon there, I am not moving, I can be safe while they're doing their thing. You seem pretty knowledgeable about it. Have you tried that variant in the past with Voidforge Asenath? I haven't tried Voidforge Asenath, but I have played a lot of like Chains of Command, a lot of I played a lot of Chains of Command, and what do you call it? I've tried Asenath, I've tried Gravebind. Gravebind has just always felt the best because it has to be their kill. If not, you're getting worse weapons. Now, if you are talking about like AG of smiting, now that one might really like probably really likes Asenath, because he is not competing with like other minions to get kills, and if he doesn't get the kill, it's no big deal, and you know, stuff like that. And confirm, force him to make Chains of Command builds for me. I will make a Chains of Command build this league again as usual. I think it's becoming tradition that I just make Chains of Command builds too. Like I really enjoy the playstyle. It's not going to be a league starter, that's for sure, but it's something I'm going to want to make at some point, just because it's the most comfortable mapping experience you can have on a minion build. Like, I'm not even joking. It is, you press one button at the start of a map to drop, what you call those things, worms, writhing jar worms. Yes, writhing jar. You press that one button, you have a few swords, and you run, and everything just dies. You don't have to click a single other button. Your curses are somewhat automated depending on your budget. You can have your AG apply most of your curses. Back in Settlers, like I had builds that had 3 curses because my AG could apply 2 curses and then I apply 1. It's literally a no button build. Is it Leaguestart baits? I was thinking of starting that. It used to be, but with the change to AGs no longer permanently dying, I would say it could be, it could not be, and it's dependent on if you can resummon your AG, go back to the map he potentially died in, and have him actually stay, because we from the wording of the patch notes, I'm inclined to believe that you can resummon an AG if you just leave the area and come back. You can have him again if he dies. Because League starts, you don't have the budget to have like an invincible AG. He's going to be squishy, he's going to die here and there. But if you can resummon him, then it's a lot more feasible. Now, if you can't resummon him, then you would have to play a decent chunk of your League start as something else as you build the budget to finally get him to a point where he wouldn't die in a map. He just has to be tanky enough. Yes, he does. But if you're looking at a League start scenario, for your journey to T16s, you either are not using him, or you do not have the budget to make him tanky enough to not die. Does that make sense? Because like the things you would need for him to not die would include stuff like what's that chest piece? Doppelganger's guys, or you know, Grotcall's Pelt and Leaguestart. These things cost like 100 C, 1 divine. They're not the cheapest. You would need Mask of the Stitch Demon, which is from what's her face, Alva, which is also again not the cheapest. Like it's a divine, 2 divines, and these are now items that non-minion builds are competing for their mercenaries as well. So you have this a new faction of people competing for this same gear, so it's going to be more expensive to get into it. So like that's why I'm saying, like, you're most likely in a league start scenario, you are going to start using your AG on a budget setup where he has a weapon, that a serviceable weapon that is good for chains of command, and then you're going to use like things like Belly of the Beast that make him tankier, but he's still going to be lacking in regen. You're going to do your best with your passive tree to give him regen and make him as tanky as possible while still having damage, but ultimately he is probably going to die when he meets some mods, some mod combinations, some rare monsters here and there, until you get the budget to improve to stop that situation. That's kind of my thought process there. So if you can bring him back into a map, it's less league start bait, and you can actually, I can see a potential path in league starting it. But if you cannot, then I would say you probably just don't league start it until you have the budget to get him to the point where he's tanky enough to survive. You're welcome. Because like with Chains of Command, remember, you can't have non-animated minions. So I guess one thing you could do to supplement your AG, if it is the situation where he dies and he doesn't come back and you can't use him in the same map, would be to use animate weapons. You can have an animate weapon gem just sitting in your inventory. If that were to happen, you can still use them. But with Chains of Command, you can't use non-animated, so you can't use specters, you can't use skeletons, nothing like that. My ultimate advice is, you can plan around Chains of Command, but you should have a different minion build you're following, and then depending on how Animate Guardians end up working, you can decide to switch to Chains of Command earlier or later, depending. The good news is you're probably going to play it on Necromancer, which means your tree is probably going to be very similar to like other non Chains of Command builds with slight deviations. Is there any proven league starts that makes Animate Guardian not down the budget? I wouldn't say it makes them not that on the. How much is the budget? Gazi hasn't made a Chains of Command league starter that I know of. Neither has anyone I know, because typically people go for it on their second build. But if I had to recommend a setup for your Animate Guardian, because here's the problem. This is the problem with gearing an AG to survive. An AG is not going to survive unless he has a decent amount of HP, of like life regen. So you have to find ways to give him that life regen on a budget. But the obvious ways are like Grotcall Spelt. With Grotcall Spelt, it just always has this, which again, it helps a lot. And if you are able to get this, you're chilling. But this is like, last league start was like 100C. It's not the cheapest out there. Doppelgangers, guys. This is, again, it has regen when you hit, and it has less phase and chaos. This is actually my preferred if I have other sources of regen as well. Again, not the cheapest, but it can work. Then you have, you know what? No. I was about to say something, but that wouldn't work with Chains of Command. No, it would. It would actually. All right, I have an idea. I have an idea for you. So this is the chest piece I was saying you'd probably want to use early, Belly of the Beast. This just gives early res and decent increased life for your AG. The other decent ones like Cosprey's Will, but I think that one with increased life is probably your best bet, just to give him as much life as possible. But early on, what I would say is, if you really want to, if you're really determined to do it, then what you should do is, I mean, you should have grave intentions, but most importantly, you should have a decent number of minion defense masteries, most notably this one. I won't force my leveling to minions. I mean, respect. I tend to force builds earlier than I probably should because I just like using a skill as early as possible. But if you have this node, you can make it work early. He will still die here and there, but the idea here is whenever a sword is replaced, which he replaces swords a lot, it counts as them dying. So this is going to be recovering, feeding life into your AG. You will need to to get 2 writing jars early on, but these are always cheap. 2 of these will give you 4 worms. That gives you a start of like 4 weapons. You go in, they're killing enemies. You're getting your swords. When you get to max swords, you now have your AG recovering life whenever they die. You will still probably need Blessed Rebirth. This guy here that stops them from being able to be damaged for 4 seconds. This just allows your swords to build up potentially. If you really wanted to league start it, I would say this is a mandatory defense mastery. You can get this on any minion defense mastery. There's like here. I wouldn't recommend this one, but it's also here. This is Golem. You wouldn't use this with Chains of Command. And your mandatory unique, of course, is Chains of Command, but that's always like, that's dirt cheap typically. PoE Ninja. Ward Gear and AG prior to Void Forge. What's a good budget weapon for AG? I know if you're going poison, I have an idea for how you would go about doing poison. But if you're doing non-poison, Paradoxica is not going to be, I won't say it's budget, especially seeing as we don't know what the new veiled modifiers are on unique weapons anymore. I would say what you're likely going to want to do is you're going to want to have a natural strength and convert Fizz to chaos. So you're going to be doing chaos damage, and then I know people use this for early poison Chains of Command. So you can probably do something like this. This is a very budget weapon. Then you're going to be scaling chaos damage and poison. And then eventually you can switch to Void Forge and crit and all of those things. I don't know how well this will perform and for how long. I haven't tested it myself, but this is a version that I know has been done. Other than Wasp Nest, what are good PDPS axes? I would honestly say it might even just be a rare axe situation going on there, where you take one essence with Giga PDR or Giga Phase and hope you get a secondary mod you like, craft on something and give your AG. Its damage might be on the worst side compared to something like Wasp Nest. Probably will be. Yeah, when people play Void Forge, they go crits. They go Ancient Skull or crit scaling. They do a lot to push out crits. I think they also use fresh meats. I don't like fresh meats for the reasons I mentioned earlier, where it's only up for X amount of time, and the moment it's not, well, you have issues. This will be really good for clearing, but the moment you hit single target, you're not really getting new swords. So this is going to be the dead link in single target scenarios, which is precisely where you want it to be. So this is not a support gem I would use personally for change of command. Worst case scenario, you use increased crits. You use this one or multi. There was a YouTube video for it this season. Was it for Leaguestart, Heliax? Or was it for, is it the one you sent me? Do I think it'd be more viable to go for? I think it'd be a lot more viable to go for the poison version, yes. I don't know how strong it would be, but I think it would be stronger than going for crits when you don't have the currency for it. Okay, let's see. Let me see how low we budget that video. That video has, where is it? There. Max ZPSQ or current POB. I think he started off this saying that it was expensive, right? Yeah, I think. Does he talk about it? Showcase.
Hi guys, pretty new here. So
now, of course, you can't do Armor Stacker
this is my
on a budget. That's for sure.
New build archetype, and first of all, it's of meta DPS. So you can see from the config, DPS percent RS reduction from. So we are precise how so right. It's a bit clunky. First of all, it is high budget, so right now I spent 50 divines with this off meta thing. So if this video get popular, it can cost more. Second,
okay, so I mean, he's talking about his current version, which is expensive. He's not mentioning budgets. Let's see, does Gazi have anything? PoE vaults. Does Gazi have anything in terms of leveling with chains of command? Oh yeah, is it not Rebuke of the Vow? Yeah, this is a weapon people go for as well. Rebuke of the Vow early on. And then this is God Call spell, this Replica Victory. You can use this actually. I forgot about this weapon. This gives you a whole bunch of flats space to like flat every damage type. And I don't think you even go for any particular element. You just go LE weakness as a curse. Maybe try to apply exposure. You don't even bother with exposure, really. I remember trying Rebuke of the Vow on when I was leveling up my Chains of Command. My initial Chains of Command poison setup. And what did I think? It's not the smoothest experience, but it will get the job done, was my experience with it. Like, it's not breaking any records, but you can use it. But yeah, I wouldn't bother with Paradoxica unless you wanted to use that as your end game weapon, because there are some builds with Chains of Command I've seen that use Paradoxica and make it work, but that is assuming Paradoxica's unveils stay the same, and Paradoxica is not budget, but it's something they eventually work into getting. We do have this video to watch. I want to see what he has to say about like mercenary armor, because I already have my ideas on how I plan to gear up my AG and mercenary. Haven't thought too deeply into it, but I know like day one, you 100% want two layer casts because layer casts apparently stacks. So you'd want a layer cast if you have an AG. You want a layer cast on your AG and you want a layer cast on your mercenary. Then you need to give both of them some survivability. If you wanted AG on a budget, which I probably would wait a bit before using an AG on a regular setup. Could be decent give him crit and stuff for like yellow map blights. You wouldn't be AFKing blight until you have more damage, but you can do regular blights, yes. Like non-AFK blights, you can do it. In map blights as well, pretty chill. So I'm thinking layer cast for both AG and mercenary because they stack with other party members layer cast. Then chess piece, we just need something tanky, so belly of the beasts, broad call spells, those chess pieces. AG can have curse on hits. No, AG can have. Who would be better to apply on hits, I guess? They would both be the same, but the difference is I can get my items back from the mercenary. That said, the mercenary also has less. Like I don't have passive tree scaling my mercenary, and going into maps it might be on the lower level. So I think I would give my AG the curse on hits. So I'd go for a wind scream and a rare curse on hit glove. That should be cheap for the AG. And then give him for the weapon, that would be dying breath. This guy. My AG would have this. I don't think this stacks. It doesn't say if it stacks or not. Most auras don't stack, but this wording has been known to stack based off of layer cast helmet. So maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. If it does, they might just both have to use this. If it doesn't, then one of them would probably have a one-handed sword and the other would have a shield for charges. The mercenary can also use an Asenath for explode early on because we don't have to worry about him needing the kill or anything. He just needs to hit, and they can have like actual abilities that do AoE and stuff like that. Why is my Discord pinging me? Why are you blank? I don't know. Discord is acting up. Anyways, as I was saying, I think it would be an Asenath angle for my mercenary early on though. That would give me an easy source of and it would have to be someone who does AoE with melee attacks. So we're more likely than not. Thank you for the follow. That's an interesting name. Thank you for the follow. What do you call it? It would likely be a strength-based mercenary that we start off with. And the reason I think strength-based mercenaries are the play is I don't think, unless we're going like aura bots, the reanimator mercenary that was teased, probably not the play. Maybe late game it could be decent. But early on, it's likely isn't. Their minions are bound to die more. A whole bunch of different things that just make it less than ideal. Wallen Ferreira, thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. How you doing? I know you subbed earlier. Hope you're doing good. So you're already a follower? Well, I'm happy to have you. Welcome, welcome. So what was I saying? Yes, strength base versus reanimator. Early on, reanimator is probably going to be more. Diamentex, thank you for the follow. How you doing? And welcome. Early on, strength is probably going to be better. Later on, could still be better. It's the more reliable option. Reanimator will have to have minions that can survive, and that means you need to have a reanimator that actually matches the area level. So like if you're doing T16s, you probably want a reanimator that you got in red maps and not one that you got in yellow, whereas a strength based one, while unideal, could still be somewhat relevant depending on the buffs he's providing. Like if you just find one that gives endurance charges, then you're chilling, because like now you don't have to worry about getting a perfect warlord spectre, you know. If you find one that has, I mean, they said it was rare to get the fortify to ally support gem, so I'm not going to expect, we're not going to expect to have that one, right? But we can expect to have maybe endurance charge sharing. What else could we potentially have? There are a bunch of like war cries that could honestly be very good for permanent minions. With the current set of war cries, I would not be surprised if we end up going for like a war cry strength based, what's his face, mercenary, and just allow him to give us like battle mage's cry for crits, or let me just put war cry. Yeah, lots of good war cries. Battle mage cry for crits. Rallying cry for damage, and then you give him a really high damage weapon so he can actually give your minions that. Intimidating. And keep in mind, every single war cry is a taunt. Taunts innately gives you 10% less damage. It's basically taunted enemies do 10% less damage to enemies that are not taunted. So just by having potentially good uptime on taunts, you and your minions are tankier, so to say. Assuming, of course, if it's 100% uptime, then even better against single target. But it likely wouldn't be. But it's still good regardless, whatever cry he has. And if it's not, and this is just like any war cry you see has the potential of being good. You get an early rallying, you're literally just going to buy a very cheap high attack damage weapon and give him. You just do that, and now your minions have added damage. And this has 100% more effect on your minions, so even more giga. You get intimidating cry. This is free movement speed whenever it applies. Infernal cry is free explode here whenever he uses it, I guess. Not the biggest, but it's something. Enduring cry gives you an ally's endurance charges, so you get one enduring cry, you have endurance charges. Hopefully 100% uptime, but you never know. And the list goes on. So that's why I think strength-based mercenaries are going to be 100% better than int-based early on, and likely into the late game. Now, there is a universe where I'm wrong about the reanimators, and their minions end up being very strong because their invisible passive tree, whatever, is really good. Then in that case, we just have to gear them up as we gear up ourselves. But then the question would be, what actually affects them? Because we actually don't know what affects them. We could have a situation where +2 minion gems doesn't affect them, in which case most of the power we get from like +2 minion wands, helmets, they can't use that. But they'll be able to use like minions deal increased damage wand. So you get like a T1 minions deal increased damage with no plus, which would be not too expensive, not too cheap either. Just like a T2, T3, something like that, really high tier. Give that to him. Have you ever tried zombie leveling in Axe plus Form of Phantasm? Like Act 1 melee is very challenging. I have tried zombie leveling. You cannot use just zombies if you want to maintain your sanity, which I assume you want to do. However, what you can do is if you use zombies and skeletons or zombies and SRS, you're kind of chilling, because you would take the same mastery I pointed out earlier. This guy. Minions recover life on minion dead, but you wouldn't put it here, you'd put it like here, because you don't want to really use zombies until you have renewal giving them some passive regen. then you take that mastery, minion recover life, and now your SRS will just heal your zombies, and they shouldn't die past that. Then at this point, you can decide to 3-link them, 4-link them. You wouldn't have that many zombies, but they are nice supplemental damage. And as you go on, you can choose to weave in skeletons, have skeletons and zombies be on the same 4-link, 5-link, 6-link, and profit. That is my current plan for going through the campaign. I plan on using SRS, zombies, skeletons, and converting my damage to lightning, because I think I want to go Wretch Defilers, but if I choose, I can also decide to go Chaos. I'm undecided on how the route I want to go yet. But I do know either way, I'd be converting their damage to one element or the other so that there can be overall synergy. And I do think the strongest League starters are the ones that use more minions over less, just because every aura you provide, every source of buff you're giving to your AG and your what's his face mercenary, all those different sources are more impactful when you have more minions to receive it, so to say. So it's going to be a Zoomaster. It's going to be a Zoomaster-esque League start. The question then is, what do I want to transition into? There are pros and cons for different build types. For like Wretch Defilers, the biggest con is you need Wraith Lord. And because you need Wraith Lord, that's a mandatory unique that you would want to have before you fully spec into like Spectres, right? That is not cheap because it's from T17 Katarina. Budushi, thank you for the follow. How you doing? And welcome. That is not going to be cheap early. You'd also want stuff like Reverberation Rod, which is a very cheap power spike for Wretch Defilers. It's a 5-link in your main hand weapon. Then you can have a 5-link in your body or 6-link for your skeletons, zombies to kill stuff with, maybe summon phantasms, etc. What else is a good minion to start with besides Wretch Defilers? Mage Kellys are decent. Skellies are always going to be in the build just because of their sheer numbers. Potentially, what do you call them? Summon phantasms as well. Spectres are kind of what I'm thinking about. We have Wretch Defilers. Now that Settlers is core, we do have access to Frostbearers permanently. Like they've pretty much gone core as far as I'm concerned. So we could look at Forge Frostbearer as well as an option. But I'm not the biggest fan of Forge Frostbearer simply because of how slow their projectiles start off being. It's not the biggest deal, but it's noticeable. Their spread is also not as wide as Wretch Defilers, and Wretch Defilers have the added benefit of transitioning to Doriani eventually. But then that also leads me to a big con. A big con of Wretch Defilers, and that is you're using a unique helmet and unique chest piece, which is going to make physical damage mitigation very rough. Very rough. Because typically I have this rule I like to follow on minion builds. It's a soft rule, but a rule that helps create tankier minion builds, and that is to not have a unique helmet and a unique chest. If I have a unique helmet, I'm trying my best not to have a unique chest, and if I have a unique chest, I'm trying my best not to have a unique helmet. The reason for this is both of these item slots have some physical damage conversion, which overall reduces the amount of physical damage you take and makes it so armor is more effective against whatever is left. Chest piece has up to 12%, if I remember correctly, and not to mention it also has access to just straight out flat PDR if you have an armor or armor hybrid base. And then helmet goes up to 8%. Face convert to fire to elemental or to a different element anyways. And with a Doriani Wretch Defiler, you're kind of in a situation where you have to use Wraith Lord for the number of minions, and you have to use Doriani for minus res, and so you would have to really figure out, if PDR. Now there are some sources of PDR I can think of that would help you in such a case. You have to convert the damage you're taking to other elements. So regardless, you could be looking at PDR on your, what is it, Glorious Vanity. Your Timeless Jewel can have PDR on certain nodes, so you can get like 3 nodes of PDR that could give you like maybe 10% PDR if you're lucky. Now if you have like 10% coming from there, you would spare a Spectre for Turtle, because Turtle would also have Giga PDR, 5% coming to you, and then Determination Aura, which allows you to use a Watcher's Eye that also has PDR. I can kind of see a way out of the PDR, of the lack of PDR in that situation. And we can technically still use Fallen, because I didn't see anything in the patch notes about Fallen. It's probably going to be a rare shield that's going to be expensive, so that's a high budget thing. But it's something we can potentially go for. Now it could be that they just haven't gotten around to nerfing it in some way, shape, or form, which I got very surprised as Fallen wasn't nerfed. Yeah, the only mention of Fallen in the patch notes is that there was a bug that where Absolution minions couldn't use their skill if their gem was socketed in Fallen, which is a bug that I don't know how you would like encounter, because you would never use Absolution in his Fallen shield. But it's good that it's fixed. Anyways, we can still use Fallen for defenses in a Doriani Wretch Defiler build. Because we can use Purple Stone on our Mercenary as well, so we still have Lucky Lightning coming from there without sacrificing that Spectre slot. Or we can just use, we can just sacrifice it and use a perfect, what's that? Spirit of Fortune. That's the one. Perfect Spirit of Fortune, which applies Lucky Lightning damage without the downside that Purple still has Spirit of Fortune. Lightning damage of nearby allies is lucky. It also has Wrath, but we would likely want to use our own Wrath because we have better effect on it and just more flat lightning damage. If our amulet is free as well, we can start off with a Jinx Juju before we invest in something more expensive, which would also be a nice amount of damage reduction for us. This is going to be the cheap amulet of choice for us, and then we're going to be giving our Purple Stone to our Mercenary regardless of budget, just so we don't have to deal with the downside. Now, in case you're wondering what the downside is, it's that lightning damage hitting you is lucky. I don't want to be hit by lucky lightning damage. Now my Mercenary, on the other hand, he has a taste for lightning damage, so you can hit him, and if he dies, so be it. I mean, if this makes him squishy, we just have to make sure his lightning res is capped, potentially overcapped, by giving him like a shield that just has plus max lightning res, and he should be fine. He should be fine past that. Okay, before I delay any longer, because I do want to finish this video, let's actually watch the video, see what Dreamcore suggests as options for a Mercenary. And keep in mind, anything that's good for a Mercenary that's not a trinket, not an accessory, can potentially be used on AG.
Another video. Now in 3.26, we'll be getting a new challenge league, the Mercenaries of Trathus. which is pretty much exactly as you'd expect, mercenaries that you can find in the world and enlist their help to your cause. You can bring them along with you on your journey and they'll fight alongside you against enemies. This is going to bring some incredible build craft to the table for patch 3.26, and I expect many of the crazier builds we'll see this league will be making interesting use of a mercenary to do
He's an
something that
alpha
you
as hell.
wouldn't be able to do, or perhaps something that would be very difficult normally to achieve. Now, whilst mercenaries do have their own preset skill builds for their specific archetypes, which can...
It's going to be interesting to see how we deal with these, because this is a curse. And if this guy would like to curse, I'm hoping we can deactivate certain skills so they don't use it. Because I wouldn't want him overwriting my curse, and I wouldn't want him overwriting my AG's curse or whoever else. And realistically, even if I give him +1 curse, I would much probably rather have my AG applied. That said, if it's actually a curse I care about, like, I don't know, conductivity or something, I might leave him as a sole curse provider. I mean, it's more automation. I can't complain about more automation now, can I?
Can also include some special skills and support gems, as was shown off in the trailer. The most important part is that you can give them your own gear pieces to wear, which means you can potentially make use of powerful modifiers on items without using those items yourself. It's very similar in that sense to Animate Guardian, but for AG to work you need to invest into it, including gem sockets and passive skills. But for mercenaries, the only real investment is time spent finding the right one and gold spent on recruiting them and reviving them.
Now the question would be, how tanky are they baseline, and how much investment in defenses would they need on gear to actually not be tanky, or not be squishy rather.
And unlike AG, mercenaries...
Oh yeah, they can actually have auras as well. So they can be sources of like determination aura for the purpose of Watcher's Eye. My brain didn't want to work, but it did.
Can equip jewelry items that you give them, rings, amulets, and belts, which can provide a lot of power.
Hopefully as well, this interface will be used for AG next season. We can be hopeful. It's now in the game. I don't see why not.
So this video is going to be all about some of the very powerful items you can
aspect of the spider as well.
In 3.
Easy source of aspect. Aspect of the spider is really huge, and there is no downside of having it here. Now, if you use a Svalin, you can have aspect of the turtle. That doesn't sound right. Aspect of the crab. Yeah, it's crab. Aspect of the crab for defense, and you should have aspect of the spider for offense. Lots of ways to play around with. Mercenaries.
2.6. And this will be part 1, covering armor items specifically. That's helmets, gloves, boots, body armor.
Literally the only things that apply to AG. So this might also be the AG section of the video.
Now, before we get into it, one thing to mention here is that I think it's very unlikely that you'll be able to provide your mercenaries with new skills granted by items. So I don't expect to be able to, for example, have my mercenary wear Doyani's Delusion to gain and provide a purity.
Also, this was something someone on the Minion Discord thought about, but like, you can in theory delegate Doriani minus res to your mercenary. In theory, give him Doriani, take his lightning res down, and then you just give him an Eyes of the Great Wolf amulet that converts 100%. Is it Grey Wolf? The fuck? Eyes. It's eyes, multiple. And give him 100% lightning damage taken as some other element. The downside to this is he is very, very squishy to dots. Lightning dots. Lightning dots will blink him out of existence. And we no longer have Doriani past that point. That is the caveat to this. But here's the thing. you can in theory just use that for bossing, like as a, you can have 3 mercenaries. You can literally just go talk to him, bring him to your party when you want to do some pinnacle bosses, because most pinnacle bosses actually don't have, lightning dots. They might have lightning damage or hits, but like it's rare you see lightning dots.
Aura. If you can do that, there's
What build are you cooking up, bro? I suspect it's going to be Doriani Wretch Defiler build. That is going to be first in my POB. Sadly, I can't POB damage numbers with Wretch Defilers as far as I know, but that is probably going to be what the POB will make for first.
There's going to be a lot more broken stuff going on. But you can't do that with Animate Guardian, and I think the idea of predetermined archetypes in terms of the builds that those mercenaries are running directly goes against being able to do that here as well. So I think it's likely that skills, triggered skills, and auras from items are all off the table in regards to items you give your merc. However, I do believe that you'll be able to utilize curse on hit items, but
none of his gems blinked here, but I think they said you could get lucky and have a gem accessible to take.
Able to utilize curse on hit items, but you may need to provide your merc with an extra curse in that case. Anyway, let's get straight into it, beginning with Algor Mortis. These gloves make enemies in your chilling areas take increased damage from lightning damage. Now, we don't know how many different archetypes of mercenary there are, but we do know at least one of them that was shown in the trailer has abilities that create chilling areas.
Earthquake of Winter
uses Arctic Armor, Frostblink, and Frost Shield, all of which create chill ground or chilling areas.
I wonder if you can convocate your mercenary.
Trail also has a mercenary-only skill, Earthquake of Winter, which may also make a chilling area. So, as a lightning damage build, you can utilize this unique on your mercenary to gain a decent damage boost, which will be especially useful for single targets like bosses or essences. Additionally, you can
this is something I didn't think about.
Mercenary lightning damage via their weapon, or slots that provide added damage such as rings and amulets, to enable them to inflict sap, which is further benefit from these gloves, making enemies deal less damage. Next up, we have the Crown of the Tyrant, which again.
Oh yeah, this I knew about.
Unlike the previous,
this I plan on using, but this is
a specific.
This is more high budget because Crown of the Tyrant kind of would likely cost like a divine, 2 divines on regular league starts. Now this is a league where you're competing with non-minion players for the same item, so for all we know, it could be double the price. You know, it could be more than that even. But this is an item that is very strong and one that I've always wanted to use more on AGs. The only problem I've had is AGs. Well, you kind of had to use Mask of the Stage Demon on AG just so they had extra defenses and they would not die in most situations. Yeah, you kind of had to do like that. Whereas with Crown of the Tyrant, you kind of lose the defensive scaling that the life regen you gain with Mask of the Stage Demon, basically. Now we can have both of them. So
mercenary to work.
Because like the minus res and the added damage is just huge.
It simply provides benefits to allies. In this case, that's your character. You can color the socket to choose which type of added damage you want. And this helmet also makes enemies near your mercenary have minus 10% to all resistances, which includes chaos resistance too. So if you can benefit from that added damage or the minor resistances, or hopefully both, then you can make great use of this.
I think Crown of the Tyrant is an alpha item.
Leaguestart is there for a general damage boost to your character.
Yeah, we already talked about this.
Crown of the Tyrant, that is going to be very, very expensive in 3.26 trade leagues, as it will be more sought after than it usually is in an average league, and it only drops from the all boss in Delve.
Oh, it's a Delve never mind.
Likely weaker but much cheaper option for a damage boost from the merc.
Even this would be worth something.
And it's just a generic increased damage aura, good for pretty much every single build. Then we have Doryani's prototype. Now this is an interesting item. Nearby enemies
we just talked about this literally.
Equal to yours. Now, because mercenaries can use jewelry, you can make use of rings and amulets that have been modified with a reflecting mist, making them provide negative lightning resistance instead of positive. This means that you could potentially get your merc to the minus 200% lightning resistance cap on Doryani's prototype, which sets nearby enemy lightning resistance to that value. And this also potentially frees up your curse slot and the need to fit exposure into your build, so you can make use of something like punishment instead. Now obviously it must be mentioned here that your merc is going to be quite vulnerable with this kind of setup. Even if you can get a decent amount of armor on them, they will take a lot of damage from lightning damage over time, such as from a Mana Siphoner rare.
Mana Siphoner will end your mercenary so much.
Which is a unique shield that grants a bunch of keystones, one of them being Divine Flesh. So
I don't like the idea of giving him this, because he likely will not be leeching much. So he's going to just slowly bleed out in maps. I don't know how I'd give him leech. Like, I can give him leech, but you need to have certain levels of damage.
So that half of the lightning damage that they take is taken as chaos damage instead. That could certainly improve their defenses against lightning damage if they have capped chaos resistance. Next up, Mute Wind Pennant and Red Blade Banner. Two shield options to improve a mercenary's Warcry skills and the buffs that they provide to you. We know that some mercenaries
Red Blade is
have
huge.
Warcry skills. We saw at least one of them in the trailer using Enduring Cry. By default, Warcries provide their buffs to the user and their nearby allies, and some of these buffs are very good.
Call to arms. What is call to arms again?
Provides a life regeneration buff, and it grants endurance charges to nearby allies based on the power of nearby enemies. Red Blade Banner will guarantee a strong buff without the need to ensure the
keystone, but
whilst also granting a large amount of Warcry CDR, so they could use the Warcry skills more often, resulting in a higher buff uptime on.
So they are not going to benefit from the Warcry buff, but they are going to giga buff our minions essentially. It's kind of cool. I still go Red Blade Banner over this, but it's kind of cool.
Meanwhile, for Mute Wind Pennant, this shield excels if you can already guarantee a lot of power to scale the Warcry buff, such as during a boss fight against a unique boss, as this one further scales the buff with Warcry buff effect, but it also grants the Call to Arms keystone to your merc, and this keystone prevents the Warcry from providing charges or its buff to the merc, but makes the Warcry buff last twice as long on you. Okay, what about a more defensive setup? Expedition's End is a unique body armor that
I haven't seen this body armor
for a base 10% action speed slow on nearby enemies. This could also be scaled by modifiers to ailment effects if you can fit any items with those modifiers into other slots on your merc. This one may be useful to place on a frontline mercenary while you deal damage from range against slower enemies. But on top of the chilling aura, this unique will also potentially allow your merc to freeze enemies regardless of which type of damage they're dealing, for even more defense for yourself. Do keep in mind though that you will
Expedition's
need to
End.
some chance to freeze from another piece of gear. Alright, take a look at this.
Another chess piece that is going to be huge this league is going to be Garbo the Ephemeral. That is a chess piece that is so good to fit on any minion build, because it literally makes it so you can run T17s without much worry, because now you and your minions action speeds can be slowed. Now you can still be slowed by, I think, like Grasping Vines, because they do not hit your action speed. They hit movement speed that they don't hit movement speed, they hit, I forget how Grasping Vines work, but action speed reduction does not affect them. Let's see, Grasping Vines. It provides less movement speed. So this would still hit you because it's less movement speed and not necessarily action speed. But drowning orbs, stuff like that are not going to affect you. Petrification statues in T17 maps will not affect you, and this can go, and Garbo the Ephemeral can go on your mercenary if you need your chest piece for your explode AG or whatever. Garbo the Ephemeral, the reason is these two. It provides some level of crit protection and some level of action speed reduction, or action speed, slow immunity at all times. Now, I don't know if they need to worry about requirements. We'll have to see.
During the reveal, they showcased another mercenary, Alak the Fraudster, and this merc uses Aspect of the Spider. Now, this Aspect skill is already incredibly powerful as it periodically applies webs to nearby enemies, making them slower, and also making them take increased damage from all sources, including your character.
Aspects are huge.
This mercenary alone is going to be really good paired with most builds. However, you can improve Aspect of the Spider quite a bit with the bestiary exclusive
Venomous Shroud
from Venomous, such as the body armor, which makes enemies affected by your spider webs deal 10% reduced damage, making the...
So you can literally have this reduce your damage, all their res by 10. You can pair it with a Crown of the Tyrant, which is on that 10 reduction, and then they now deal less damage. That's insane. And there's also the other end of the spectrum where you can have Aspect of the Avian on your mercenary. Aspect of the Avian makes him have a cycling buff. He either has movement speed or he has double damage, and his minions have movement speed or double damage, or chance to do double damage. Now, if you pair this with Sakawal's Nest, then Aspect of the Avian also applies to nearby allies, i.e. us and our minions. So now we are also going to have the cycling buffs of sometimes movement speed, sometimes chance to do double damage. So that would be a really, really big damage boost, especially the double damage, because when it is up, let's say it's a 12%, this has buff effect, so it's actually be 24%. That means when it's up, our minions have 24% more damage, assuming we have no other sources of chance to do double damage. That's a lot more damage. Like it's literally just a 24% damage multiplier. But at the same time, you would still want to do like Sakawal's Talon to increase the duration of, where is it? To reduce the duration of Avian's flights. This means now it's going to be 66% uptime of the buff. And with 66% uptime of the buff, we're now looking at an average of 24 times 0.66. 15% more damage at all times for your minions on average. By using Sakawal's Nest, Talons with minus duration on flight, and having Avian's might be up. And the more aspect effect they get, the better. I don't think. And then and if you really just love that double damage chance, you could still do Soldier to then increase this to 6-second Avian Might, which then gives you a 75% uptime. I think it's 6 seconds up, 2 seconds down, 75%, and that increases your chance for double damage a lot more. But like at this point, you're experiencing diminishing returns. You're already looking at a mercenary that's probably not the tankiest and stuff like that. So if you were to run this, I would say you probably just plug in a Sakawal's Nest and that's it. But yeah, Venomous Shroud is also really good. Wait, does Aspect of this crab have anything interesting on its uniques? Because I haven't looked at this guy's uniques ever. Chest piece first and foremost, level 20. Bleeding cannot be inflicted on you. Max number of crab barriers. Meh. Chance to block AD with 5 crab barriers. Chance to block AD with 10. Cannot lose crab barriers if you have lost crab barriers recently. Oh. That gives you at least... Wait, this helmet might actually be insane. This modifier is insane, can I just say? Because crab barriers, per crab barrier getting 2% PDR. This means I think you get a stack every half a second, something like that. Yeah, half a second. So that means in 4 seconds you have 8 stacks. 8 stacks is the equivalent of 16 PDR. So you just have a scaling PDR until that point, and then you can lose again and go back to 0. Because typically how crab barriers work is when you take physical damage from a hit, it goes to 0, and then you start stacking again until you take physical damage from a hit, and then it goes to 0 again, and you scale up from there. This one makes it so you only lose a certain number of crab barriers and stuff, everything, and then stun immunity with at least 10. And then this is 10% chance when you would gain a crab barrier instead gain max number. Kind of nice. But yeah, I mean, these are not worth using. I wouldn't use these on... I was just curious to see if there was any like aspect of the avian that would make it so it applied to allies. There is none. My first time looking at the uniques related there. And then there's aspect of the cat, but I don't think aspect of the cat is anything you'd want to use. It's like chance to deal damage, chance to avoid damage rather, and then movement speed. Is it movement speed? Attack cast speed, crit chance, chance to avoid damage, and then stealth. Yeah, there's nothing here. Maybe intimidating cry. There's nothing here.
Aspect skill have a good defensive boost, but it also makes enemies affected by spiderwebs have -10% to all resistances for even more damage. And it provides a huge area of effect increase for the skill too, making its effects more reliable. There's also the boots for an extra web debuff stack too, so you can really double down on that skill. Keep in mind that the other aspect skills are likely to exist on different...
This can inflict on enemies an additional time. Wait, what?
For an X skill too, making its effects more reliable. There's also the boots for an...
Yes, for each enemy you hit which is affected by spider web, aspect fire duration, and then
extra web debuff stack too, so you can really double down on that skill. Keep in mind that the other aspect skills are likely to exist on different mercenaries too, so look out for aspect of the avian, which can be used with Sakawul's Nest to...
We just talked about it.
Provide and grant those bonuses to your character as well. Okay, what about Legacy of Fury? This is an AG favorite, and now it's going to be a Merc favorite. These apply Scorch to nearby enemies, lowering all of their elemental resistances by at least 13%, but up to 15%.
Windscream is also going to be good.
Roll. So that's really good to boost your damage output, but there's also the chance to cause a burn effect on killing scorched enemies, which is really nice for clear. But will you be securing most of the kills instead of your Merc? In that case, you can put your Merc with Gravebind. Yep. These gloves grant kill credit to your mercenary, allowing them to benefit from on-kill effects such as the aforementioned.
You know, this is a good video for people who do not actually know what can go on an AG, because it highlights a lot of things. Now, granted, for an AG, you probably want a more specific item set pool, not necessarily like a Gravebind, obviously, but not necessarily like the other things that are mentioned, because those are reliant on having skills, and AGs don't have skills. But some of the things here are applicable to AGs as well.
Mentioned burn effects on the Legacy of Fury boots, but there's a lot of options like that. For example, in Pulsar for explode against shocked enemies. Spore Guard is there too. There are quite a lot of these on-kill effects that you can utilize. And of course, as I've seen many people mentioning already, you can, of course, just use your Merc as a magic finder with Gravebind and a bunch of rarity gear. But I think they're likely to fall over a lot if you do that. There's
they will.
Asenath's Gentle Touch for explode that doesn't require the Merc to actually get the kill credit. They also have built-in Curse on Hit for Temporal Chains, which is potentially very strong depending on your...
Like, this would be so strong to have with an Explode AG. The problem is this line. This line creates lots of issues. A lot of issues. Let's start with the AG. Because if we have a Curse AG, he has no issues applying his 2 curses or 1 curse and then having an extra curse on it from like someone else. The problem is going to be us, because the way you typically build an AG is you give him a source of additional curse, so he has a curse limit of 2, and then you give him a source of 1 curse. That way we curse and we override we basically curse, then the AG curses and doesn't override our curse because he has a curse limit of 2. So even if we get to curse again, we override the AG, but then he hits no long after and reapplies his second curse. But now with this guy, in that same scenario, he would be taking the spots and then AG going over him to get the second spot. Even if we give him a curse limit of 2, we still would not be able to apply 3 curses. If we wanted to apply 3 curses with this modifier, we would have to have one of them have 3 curse limits. The other one would have to have 2 curse limits. And then the last person 1. So in that case, we'd have like 1. The mercenary will have 2, so maybe a wind scream. And then AG would have to have like a wind scream and Cosprey's will or explode chest with additional curse or something like that to have the third one. So the way it would then work is we when we curse, we overwrite everybody's curse. Like that's the only curse on the enemy. Then mercenary hits, takes up the second spot, and then AG hits, takes up the third spot with his 3 curse limit, which is a lot of investment into curse just because you want to have an extra explode area that doesn't require, you know, like unless you're doing poison, then temporal chains might just be curse you want to have, but otherwise, you know, it's a waste.
Build, but be aware that if your merc already uses a curse, you will need to provide them with an extra curse from gear. Now, there's also Victario's Charity and its replica version.
Yeah, this is gonna be on the person who wants Gravebind.
Generation. That's going to be useful on many builds and lots of different types of mercenaries.
AG staple.
Wind Scream unique boots for an extra curse.
Yep.
Useful if you find a merc with a good curse for your build and you also want to equip a curse on hit item on them too. Then you can turn them into a curse bot. The Blood Price helmet can be used to make nearby monsters reserve some of their life, so you need to deal less total damage to kill them.
Meh.
There's also the Garb of the Ephemeral, but assuming total damage.
This one is going to be so bad because you're going to be reducing his already not high life, which is not great. And you never do put this on an AG either because, again, not great.
And there's also the Garb of the Ephemeral, but assuming
we already spoke about this one.
Requirements are a thing on mercs, you may not be able to get enough attributes to equip this one on them, or it will take a lot of attribute-heavy gear slot investment. But if
I feel like attributes will not be a thing for mercs. I don't know that that is true, but I feel like that's the case because it would be awkward to have to deal with attributes.
It will provide the powerful bonus of preventing your action speed from dropping below base value, whilst also preventing nearby enemies from dealing critical strikes. Now, unique items are great, but don't forget about normal modifiers on craft.
Yeah, rare helmet. These are also going to be really nice to have. Minus res influence helmets. You can have minus early res, you can have minus chaos res, and you can have minus fizz. I think fizz is like conqueror or something. I don't remember. It's one of the other conquerors of the Atlas. I don't remember exactly who. Actually, no, this is one of them is fizz, one of them is chaos. The Redeemer is cold. Baran is what? Baran is lightning. Drox is probably fizz. Maybe. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. If you wanted to use it, you'd go to Craft of Exile to find which one is for which. Then there's Intimidate or Nerve. This is pretty good. If you can find an Intimidate / or Nerve on hits with Cursed Implicit Corrupted Red Glove, it'd be huge. You can have it as Eldritch Implicit. I mean, odds you get this is very low. I feel like this would be expensive early, but then it gets cheaper once people have once the season goes in. Exposure. If all you care about is your attributes, sure, but most likely we're going to go for corrupted gloves if we're going res. So this is not an option. This is probably not an option. Could be an option, most likely not, but. And then this is what we'd be going for. Boots, brittle, sap. If we can convocate, sure, but if not, I don't know how effective they would actually be at applying these to. Brittle would be huge on a mercenary, because that just gives you base crit chance, which is invaluable if you're scaling crits. Body armor, nearby enemies blinded. Evasion build, sure, but not for us. Aura effects, if they have auras, then yeah. Warcry buff effects, same thing if they have Warcries.
On helmets, you can use influenced suffix modifiers for Shaper or Elder to make nearby enemies take increased physical or elemental damage. There's also similar modifiers which instead lower resistances on nearby enemies from the Conqueror influences. On gloves, you can use Hunter prefixes or Eldritch implicits for chance to intimidate or unnerve, making those targets take increased attack or spell damage. There's also Culling Strike available as a Warlord influence suffix on gloves, and on Eldritch implicits you can also access exposure modifiers. And remember that any gloves you use can be corrupted for curse on hit modifiers, which should work with mercenaries. Boots are great for various ground effects. For example, you can use an Eldritch implicit for brittle ground on your frontline merc, making it easier for you to scale your own critical strikes. Boots also have other
I feel like it's going to be such bad uptime though, unless it's like pinnacle boss fights. And
for body armors,
because like
influence has a prefix.
Realistically, when I have these things, I typically personally always run through the enemy, so I know they have the ground under them. The mercenary is not doing all of that, so it makes me wonder if it would actually be worth it, because there's a reason we don't give our AG that, and that's because he doesn't apply that well. I assume it's going to be the same for him, so I don't think this is going to be a great addition. This, sure. This, I doubt it.
That provides a blind aura, whilst you could also just use Eater and Exarch influences to provide a boost to the aura effects of any auras that your merc is using. There's also Warcry buff effects as well on Eldritch implicits for body armors. Now, because there's so many options and possibilities, I'm sure I've missed some from this video. So do put your own ideas in the comments below, and I'll try to make a list in the pinned comment for any that I've missed. And remember that this was just the armor items. Tomorrow I'll be covering the potential weapons and jewelry that you can use on your mercenaries in 3.26, so stick around for that. And
now this is
armor items.
Okay, no, this is the league mechanic. I think that the spreading webs here, I think it's one of those buffs that they were mentioning where you kill them and they resurrect, or they drop only currency or something.
You can use on your mercenaries in 3.26, so stick around for that. And that's it for this one. Thanks for watching this video.
It's a good video. Let's see, pinned comments, other mentions, doppelgangers, yeah, grot calls, yeah, aberrats hooves. Why? Because it ignites. Does he? Let me see. I also don't think he's going to be the best source of applying. Bruh, what is? Oh, it's double B. That's why. The on-kill effect when you ignite an enemy effect as it applies to. Oh, when you kill an ignited enemy, inflict an equivalent ignite on each. Oh, so you can use this on like an EA ballista setup. Have him have like grave binds, so that when you kill the ignited enemy, he spreads it. It's kind of cool. That's free prolif. Tempest Rising. Abhorrent interrogations. Surely there's a merc that inherently applies. I think these are gloves, right? Enemies take increased early damage from your hits for each withered you have inflicted on them. Chance to wither on hits. You just take increased early damage. Oh, this could actually be pretty good. if we can give him with a chance, and I mean there are a few sources of potential with a chance on hit, I assume. Let's see. Ainsbury Edge. Reflect Wither for 2 seconds on hit with this weapon. That means you give them giga attack speed, you give them this. And if they attack twice a second, that's 16% increased early damage taken. Black Flame could also be something people use, but that's so you give your what's his face, your mercenary a source of ignite, have them ignite, and then so long as there's an ignite stack up on the enemy, they're taking chaos damage instead. Probably not the most reliable, but it's something. I don't know about Brian Roth's flag. This is a shield. It's a freaking okay. It's supposedly a flag, but it looks like a bottle. But okay. War Cries grants Arcane Search your allies with 10% increase of power up to 50%. Free Arcane Search, which is cast speed and mana regen. But mana regen doesn't affect our minions, so only the cast speed matters. All right, that's a really good video. Okay, now we shall continue editing this POB. Now, for context as to where we are in this POB, the goal here was to have a POB that would be able to draw out as much power as I could from our minions without basically interacting with the market. So like that's why I don't have easy sockets taken, because I would likely not want to use them early on, at least until I'm somewhere in like yellow maps or something. So this is what we have for now. Probably wouldn't use that, to be honest. Probably don't need that. Early on we'll need it, but if we're going for Doriani's prototype, which I guess we could. If I'm going for Doriani's prototype, item wise, we have reverberation for our wretch defilers. We have a non+1 shield and helmet, literally just the bare minimum, and I think I want to keep using like the bare minimum. We have 4 blue triads grip because curse. Lightning damage. Since it's lightning damage, you no longer need to use phase to lightning. Was it support gem? Volatility because we're going to use a purple stole. A purple stole does in fact apply, but the thing is, our mercenary is going to have the purple stole, not us. Let's see. Let's copy this. Okay, cool. Then purple stole will be on the mercenary. We would have Jinx Juju. Body armor, body armor. Who's going to be in here? We have wretch defilers or slave drivers in our reverberation rod. That means this is going to be skellies and zombies with these things, which means, I think I just go a rare. There's no need to do anything. There's no need to do anything else. Go for a rare body armor with the bare minimum, which is life. Probably armor ES if I can use it. Just life. Life and res. Do we have any crafted modifier that matters? I want to say no, we do not. And we're not going to be applying Eldritch Influence, even though we should be. Honestly, we should be. If not for anything, we should be trying to get phase converts to Ellie on both of these. That should be a priority because, well, we probably don't want to die. But at the same time, it's day one. Probably wouldn't have the currency for it, which is fine. For boots, same armor ES, ideally. Movement speed 30%, life, res. Do we have any special rings we want to use? I don't think so. Not early on anyways. Later on, we might want to use something like Hungry Loop with AG or something, but early on, probably not. So it just end up being rings with life and res. And then Darkness Enthroned. I think 75% is fair. And for our Abyssal Jewels, we want... These are the only jewels we're going to be using. Minions deal additional lightning damage, T2. All right. Defensively, we are... I mean... Defensively, we're not in a good spot, but that's because of how low the budget is. Holy. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Where were we? We're POB in. We're POB in the budget setup. Let's do this. Ray Spectre, Summon Skelly, Bone Offering, Arcanist, Conductivity. We have cap block chance if we're using Bone Offering, but I'm honestly not the biggest fan of Bone Offering without I'm not the biggest fan of Bone Offering with Arcanist brand, simply because I am not going to click the button enough. Now our block chance is less than capped, and we can always switch to Bone Offering, but I choose not to. Now we have this guy and this guy. What else do we need on this setup? I think AG is still out of the budget. I don't want to have to buy AG gear, so we're not going to use AG. We do need auras though, because our mana is still on the higher side. We probably need some form of clarity if we're going to use Summon Skelly and Arcanist brand. We could try to use an extra Golem or Lightning Golem slash, which would give me mana regen, and Stone Golem. But for now, Stone Golem, Feeding Frenzy. Yes, Feeding Frenzy is active. Minion life. All right, this is now life regen. It is also ES for. Oh, we don't need mana regen because we went for Eldritch Battery. Never mind. My brain just didn't work for a second. All right, clarity is fine. This can go on whatever slot. It doesn't matter. Then we can go Convocation here. Now in our offhand, we just need to have a Steel Skin automation setup. Oh wait, this is helmet, so this should be in gloves. Huh. We need 4 blue going somewhere. Stone Golem is red, so that's a problem. Desecrate is green, also a problem. So far, nothing can go in our gloves, which is not great. This is also red, blue, so again, not great. Now this has to go in gloves, so it has to be auras. Are we only going to use blue auras? Wrath. I don't want to use any other blue auras. I don't want to use Zealotry because it only affects my specters. I guess I could use Skitterbots. I wouldn't use Discipline on this setup because, oh, Purity of Elements, 100% purity. Now the question is, do I want to fit in one more aura? Because the things that I can think of that would make me tankier or do more damage, like Skitterbots, are blue, which would be nice. But then I have to be like level 96, which I don't want to be, unless I can shave off points. Without bone offering, there's not much need for offering effects. This is more DPS. But I'm trying to save points, so I don't want to drop any life. My spell block is low enough to OA. And do that as well. So now we're 94. Why the fuck is this there? Tempest Shield. We still have some mana reservation. And honestly, that's fine. Convocation can go there. Then here, where Convocation actually is, we can go for Vitality. And just take some levels away. All right, something like this. So we have decent life regen here. I would like to have more buff effect, but that's fine. We have 300 life regen every second, which not bad, not great. But we do have leech and instant leech to help. It's just nice to have this in case I don't have anybody to hit. Also, if I wasn't doing vitality, can I fit in any other gem? No. I guess I could do precision. I could do precision, which would be DPS. Go from, because I'm going from 250 to 300. Which is not bad, but it's also not that great either. I think vitality is the smart thing to have for now. Mercenary. Stats or items. Purples to okay. So we have purple still, which is this. Clear cast most likely, which is nearby allies deal 50% increased damage. Okay, that increases damage. And then I think past this, we can have defensive items, defensive slots. But this is like the important parts that he has. He should also have a dying breath. He should also have a dying breath. He's basically going to be our AG before we get an AG. And then when we have an AG, dying breath is 18%, right? Nearby enemies gain 18% increased damage. All right, and then we also have 18% increased effect of curses. Now, what is the way curse effect is worded here? 18% increased effect of curses. That's not it. Of your curses. Okay, cool. These three. And then if we find a mercenary that has a war cry or something, that's a bonus. I don't think there's any difference, right? Yeah, it's the same thing. Deal or gain, all the same. That means for the mercenary, we should put in the item. So dying breath. Lear casts. No, let's see. Summon Skelly. If I were to do Val Summon Skelly of archers, would it be more damage? No, okay. I just had to be sure. I didn't think it would be more damage. But yeah, probably because volatility honestly doesn't affect them. Everything else would though. And this is of course also not including Val Summon Skellies. I'm gonna try something. Summon Phantasm. But I think I have to copy paste. Remove skeletons. Go Phantasm. Including full DPS, something like this. What did I just do? Do people use someone? I mean, no. Do people use summon skeleton or zombies for Phantasm? I don't actually know. Let's see. How do people simulate this? I know Helmbreaker likes using them, so I assume he also has a way to do it. PoE. PoE, build guides, necromancer, chaos army. This is Helmbreaker, right? No way you expect to have his falling early, my guy. Falling is going to be an expensive shield. It's not even something that's going to be possible early. Like genuinely. So let's look at non-falling. But what I came here for is phantasms. All your specters. I haven't even taken into account specters. Specters. Okay, no, I actually have. I'm using Wretch Defilers, so. Raise zombie, skeleton, summon skeleton, phantasm, physical projectile. So he used skeleton for his. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So level 17 summon Skelly with 21 with Phantasm. Okay then. So like this. Now I can have 10 Phantasms. Here's something that kind of confuses me here. Aren't there 6 sockets already? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Where does summon Phantasm fit? Here. Spectre, Stone Golem. So summon Phantasm, Feeding Frenzy. These are in the boot, and this is AG with Stone Golem or Safeguarding. So what slot is this on? Temp chain, so using AG. So the 8, let's say helmet, because I don't see helmet anywhere. So it's a 3 link, it goes in, say, helmet. These go in boots. He's using rare gloves because he's using chaos converts from the ascendancy. Mobility, guard skill, this, that. So basically, summon Phantasm is here. He has no support gem other than Feeding Frenzy. So he just uses Summon Phantasm without. Is this Spectre, Stone Golem, Summon Phantasm? Wait. Stone Golem? Is this Stone Golem here? I guess he might need to remove this. But in any case. So Summon Phantasm doesn't have any sockets. So that is this one. 17, 21. And you're doing 400k damage. I mean, I guess it is a way to have DPS coming from a 3 link that otherwise would not have DPS. But I'm surprised he doesn't use it in like this. But to be fair, even in my calculations right now, it feels like, or it looks like, I should say, it's less damage because I could do this or I could disable this. And then switch this to minion damage, I believe. And he has more damage. And this is with Summon Phantasm being on a 4 link with the others, so it doesn't look like it's worth sacrificing a support gem there for it. I could do it here. I could do it there technically. I don't think it would have enough uptime in clear, and I think it would just reduce my life regen for no reason. Single target, what is the chance for Summon Phantasm to get spawned? It is a 20% chance, and they last 15 seconds. So it take on average 5 hits to get a Summon Phantasm, and there are up to 10 of them. So that's 50 hits. So he would have to hit 50 times in 15 seconds to have perma uptime, which is a bit over 3 attacks a second. Not the most feasible for Stone Golem, I think, without much attack speed scaling at least. Which means you probably have slightly less than 10, maybe 9, 8, sometimes 10, depending on your luck. Sometimes less if you get unlucky. It'd be far from perfect uptime, and then they die, and you know, back to square one, I guess. Okay. Anyways, I am curious how this looks. He goes for max res. What jewels are we going for? Poison on hits, poison and life. And that's probably what is he's in. Yes, he is. Okay. And it's on 5%. Covenant, chance to, I mean, he can't use chance to poison, otherwise you have to use it a lot. So with this, let's say 13%. That is what, 20-ish, 40-ish. This is 20, 40, and then 50, 60 something. And then there's this one. $53, 66. And why am I calculating it? It's right here. Poison chance 100%. We're at 96% rather, because of what the 13% and 22%. Close enough. How much poison damage is he doing? 8 mil with 2 mil coming from there. What do his items look like? Bones of Allure are really strong. I hate the 10% move speed personally. I don't think I can stand Bones of Allure. Covenant. So this isn't too early. This is, let's use leveling tree. Yeah, these are like this is the very early tree. Oh, I just changed something. I shouldn't be changing stuff. Okay. We'll close this because I feel like I changed something. And then we're going to reopen POB. Yeah, these were blank. He uses life from death, but not blessed rebirths. Interesting. Enduring composure. Tauntaun hits. Fizz. Yada yada. His items are all just +1. Some increased damage +2. He's going for no life modifiers, but he's going for a PDR. It's not a bad idea, to be honest. He's using the life mastery to go for increase. He goes for all 6. One, two, three, four, 5, 6. God damn. The increased life is really good, but then to also go for the more life, I get why. It's for max hits, because at a stage like this, you're very desperate for max hits. It's just this mastery, not this one, this guy. Those two are not doing anything for you except giving you 2/6 of 10%, which is like 3% more life. Is one way you can look at it. It doesn't have any effects that trigger on high life and like full life and low life that I can see, at least. All in all, pretty good. And he has 79 max rest thanks to this one and this one. Yeah. Okay. I do think I am considering this life mastery thing. I'm thinking about it, and I'm still not the biggest fan of it, I'll be honest. I'm still not the biggest fan. I understand the why. And it's pretty good. He has 5k life. And I assume all of these are not like T1. I mean, his helmet doesn't have, like, it does have life. Praetor Crown. What tier life is this? Yeah, like T4 life. His boots are bones of Valor, so they give fuck all life. His shield has crafted life. His rings have decent life. This bone ring, I guess he's not going for res, but I think this would be a decently expensive ring early, but yeah, it's decently expensive. It would be kind of expensive early. All right. So like his life rolls aren't unreasonable, I don't think. He's just getting a lot of life from the mastery, which I like personally. It also incentivizes you to just get even more life, so that he's getting like 162% increase and then 10% more on top of that to have almost 6k life, which is very comfortable. Let me see. Do I want to use it? What would I have to do to use it? I would have to go down here for this life mastery, because I have 1, 2, 3, then I'd have 4. I'd have to get this as well. 5. Oh wait, 1, 2, 3. That's 3 already. 4, 5. Yeah, I need a 6, so that'd be 6. So I need to put you in, and then throw in like 4 extra masteries and remove life from here, which means I need to drop points from other areas to compensate. How about we do this? I'm not the biggest fan of, you know, Grave Pact, as you might imagine. Can we make do with just precision? I don't like the dexterity requirements that it would introduce, but it's not unreasonable. What is accuracy here? 85. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do this, and then we're going to do generosity. Then we're also still going to need accuracy, and then these ones, and that should cap it. Still not capped? Jesus, it's that bad. Actually, I don't think it's that bad. I think the problem here is y'all just lack levels. How do I realistically get levels on you guys without... I mean, I think I just need to actually go for +1 items. Because, like, I have no +1 on anything. I was trying to keep this, like, dirt cheap. I'll leave it as +1 with Syrian Exarch given... Nope, not Syrian Exarch. Ether Worlds giving some conversion. Where else can I get +1? I don't want to use Bows of Allure. Those items, the item is just so bad with movement speed. I guess we can use shield charge, right? Do we have space for shield charge? We have our helmets, we have our gloves, we have our boots. I have to find space for shield charge. These two are kind of necessary to be together. Precision is kind of up in the air, but generosity would have to be with them. I guess if I put this in helmets, if I do this, these are boots, and then these go into boots. Then I can create another one for offhand. And then I can have shield charge. But here's the thing. At this point, Frost Blank. I still do not have one, two, three, four. Yeah, at this point, I still kind of... How much is offering of giving me? Give me this amount of damage. I don't have the socket space. Unless I use my gloves, I just don't. I don't think I'm going to play without Convocation CDR, which means I need to have this one. I guess what I could do as well is I don't have an AG yet, so I don't really need this one. And then I just need to go for my medium cluster jewel with life from death. So now for the small price of a point, I have both of those effects. Do I still want to go through this area? I could do this. Let's see. We are at currently 87. I lose some ES, but like that's negligible. Can then drop these. 86. I can technically drop this or this. Did I completely drop precision, didn't I? Which means y'all are struggling on this front now. That means as much as I did not want to include these, I'd have to use some dual sockets for median accuracy. Oh, I have to go for this one. Cobalt Jewel has minion accuracy. Where's minion accuracy? It's a suffix, I think, actually. Has minion accuracy. And I'll go live. The thing though is, I think I have a lot of percent increased accuracy, and I think I'm lacking in the flats department. Jeez. Like baseline, we should have higher level zombies and skeletons. So this should be higher. And as such this, so all these would be more effective. Which means, I mean, I don't have to put accuracy on anything here, to be honest. I really don't want to have to do that. What are we gonna do? How does he resolve accuracy? Is it just levels? Where's accuracy? He's not 100%. He has one flat accuracy and he has a lot more base. Then he has the Grave Pact wheel and he doesn't take anything else. I don't have to rely on the Ghastly Eye Jewel for it. Like Cobalt, it would be cheaper. Ghastly Eye Jewel, less so. Which means we'd probably have to scale back on Flat Lightning to have... We'd have to scale back on Flat Lightning to have some accuracy. Something like that. I have a lot of strength and a lot of int. I need dexterity, but I can't get dexterity anywhere, so... We'd go PDR here. We drop the life node. And we'd instead go for armor ES. Prefixes would not matter. And then we just go for all the masteries. And now at 5k life, but we are way above points, so now we need to start trimming. And I think in the process of trimming, I just have to get rid of these. I think I can justify it. Can I live without this and just go for leech mastery here? I guess I dropped this guy, right? So if I were to do that, I'd have to drop like from here. I mean, that'll give me a lot of points. But the problem is I don't think I have the mana. I definitely don't have the mana regen to sustain my shit if I do that. Not to mention I also lose some spell block, which, I mean, while not great, it's just all the, I'm just thinking about all these points I'm spending just to get to this node, which I already have, all for Eldritch Battery. If I spend less points getting Leech, if I spend less points getting to Leech, I could maybe just spend the remaining points on mana regen or Fit's Clarity or something. But socket space is a problem. It is a major problem. Am I missing anything? We have chest piece, we have helmet, we have boots, we have gloves. Everything is already accounted for. Weapon is what we would typically have, but because our weapon is going to our Wretch Defilers early on, we kind of don't have a choice there. This is going to be a lot of damage that's not reflected here, is another thing to keep in mind. Simply because we can't, oh Jesus Christ. Here we can't calculate Wretch Defilers properly. This wasn't able to last I tried. Where can I shave off more points? I can get rid of this. But rather, how much increased damage do we have? 310. 310 is decent. But this is including our boss from our mercenary. This area also kind of has a drought, but it's not nearly as bad as here. All of this just for Eldritch Battery. I can fit in Clarity, but then do I just go for an Onset Ring? There are a few problems with having an Onset Ring that I can think about. I'd be using Clarity for mana regen. But the thing is, I would then need to have the unreserved space to cast the things I want to cast, i.e. these guys. And on top of that, I need to have my mana regen at a point where there would literally be no downtime. There would only be a point where I run out of mana and I can't cast like Summon Skellies. But like Summon Skellies also costs a decent chunk of mana, like 43 a pop, and I'd want to like be able to spam them to a degree. I can drop some points from here. That puts me at 96. Do I have any unnecessary masteries This is very important. This is very important. Mana is very important. We're at 5k life, which is nothing to sneeze at this point. And that's without a life roll on chests, which greatly reduces the price I need for my chest piece. Like a lot. So that is really good. We also have a lot of suffixes open. And honestly, we can still go for a plus level shield. We have +1 helmets. As much as I would like to not, I think Bones of Valor is just... It's too good early on, I think. I think it's too good early on. Eventually, not to mention, we are kind of desperate to get to level 25 as early as possible so we can get that extra Spectre. So, yeah. Let's go shield. Yes. Fossilized Spirit Shield. Here should be +1 minion. And some level of life. Doesn't have to be insane, but just something. And that puts us at our another Spectre. So now we should have 5 with this setup. The movement speed would drive me nuts, but it will also be motivation to, you know, actually get currency. Because anyways, Devout Chainmail should also have, I think it's Ether that has convert, right? Baseline, any of them. Gets res and dex on open suffixes. So our max hits are in the 20 something Ks and 7k. We need to work on phase max hits. How can we improve our phase max hits? Stone Golem buff. 20% increased defenses. Did I even do anything? Yeah, I did. ES went up. Same with armor, but like our armor is barely doing anything. How do I increase my phase max hits without... Oh yeah, I have access to endurance charges. I forgot to add that. So we have 5 endurance charges, right? 5. That gives us some phase max hits, but nothing insane. We have access to steel skin, which would help our situation a bit when it's up. But I would like this 9k to be slightly better. We have Jinxed Juju, giving us some, you know, yeah, giving us some damage reduction. How else can I increase my phase max hits? We have PDR here. We can get a shield with PDR, but I want the +1 shield. I'm about to do what I didn't want to do. Sad. Okay. we're going to do it. Raise Spectre. We're going to have only 4 DPS, bruh. Only 4 DPS Spectres. Which, by the way, they're going to hit multiple times, but we're not calculating the damage anyway, so doesn't matter. Raise Spectre. Actually, let's delete this. Control C, Control V. New. Three? No. 4? Yeah. No, I think I typically go 6. Yeah, config. All right. Config below. Guardian Turtle. All right. PDR is slightly better now. It's at least in the 10Ks. What is our block looking like there? Rumi's concoction. When it's up, we have decent block chances. Very decent block chance. The others will be quartz, quicksilver, basalt. What else do I want here? We're also going to be going Brine King. And for this guy, Rislata would be early. I think Grotcall. Number of summon minions, like 20. I forgot to set that. I have 11-ish zombies and 10-ish, 11-ish skeletons, 10-ish zombies. As I 21. I'll put 10 here. The reason this is important is because we get PDR from this guy over here. So that's 12.5k. In the ideal universe, we'll have a taunt buff, but I can't guarantee we have a taunt buff here. We don't have the jewel space for that. Again, with Steel Skin, doing a lot better. Throw it out though, because it's not going to always be up. We need to have our max hits be. This is where I would have put Chaos Golem to increase our max hits, but can't really do that now, can I? I don't really do that now. We'll use a Jade Flask here. A Jade Flask with evasion. I don't think I want to use this Basalt Flask implicits or mod. Sure. Fuck it. The reason that mod is nice is it's just like it has a. If you've ever played with recoup, it's kind of like it feels like that. You go from full health. You take a hit and you're already leeching because you're leeching for the damage you just got hit by, and that gives your other sources of leech time to catch up, i.e. the one from your minions. That said, once your leech rate is full, it's not doing much for you at that point. It's still worse than a recoup. How else can we increase our... I guess we could try to increase our life pool even further. But again, we're already too many points in. I'd like to reduce some points, so... that already is not great. Eldritch Battery. How do we deal with this? I don't want to use Devouring Diadem or have to use any uniques like that. That would... We have 1, 2, 3. Any other sources of... no, just those 3. I guess we can do that. That again increases how much of a waste this is. I don't know, waste point just gets it here. That looks so bad. I don't want to do this. I really don't. I guess I do have costs from mana instead of life, right? Or life instead of mana. So the cost of Skellies is less, 43. But if I drop all of that, if I do this and instead go, bruh, instead do something like this. I save some points, but now my mana is not having fun, so to say. I'm not in a great place. My mana regen is also shite. So I need to now find a spot like an onset ring. But I would personally hate to have to use an onset ring. But use an onset ring to then fit in a clarity that can only go as high as my mana cost will let me. But like even at this, I don't like this. I don't like it one bit. What else can I do? I mean, I'm down to 93, level 93, so it's workable now. Very workable. I could drop, if I drop this entire region, which I can, if I just pass through here, I would lose a decent chunk of life is the problem. Like a decent chunk of life. Oh, level 92. This will also give me some early rest to work with though. And I'd rather do that than you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Same number of points. Feels less wasty this way. Just slightly. This is 16% live versus 4, 8, 15. Yeah, this is even more life than the other one, ironically. But this doesn't have mana regen. But I don't care about mana regen because this guy. I hate the fact that this is literally just like slightly too bad. But like there's nothing I can do about the fact that it is because it's all percent. I can't even reduce the level of a jam. Because I really don't want to lose block chance. I really don't. This puts me at 65, 66, which is fair. If I do that, I guess I'm slightly higher now. 65, 69. How is our accuracy situation looking? Not great. Not great at all. That puts us close to accuracy cap if we can find accuracy, lightning damage, ghastly eye jewels. Because these are all just to buy time to the point where these are just to buy time till we get to the point that we can, what do you call it? That we can switch to Rate Lord. We're almost at a mil DPS with nothing but +1s, Bones of Ruler, some uniques, Reverberation Rod. This without the Reverberation Rod, I would have to use a 4-link for my specters, whereas now they have a 5-link, including Spell Echo and Control Destruction, which are free gems pretty much for them. Is like Impen the best source of plus damage? Minion damage better than Light Impen, it looks like. Now, same thing for the chest piece. Is Light Impen the best? Early damage attacks is slightly behind. Very slightly. Volatility. By far the best. Minion damage. Multi-strike. Early focus is better than multi-strike, but I mean, I wouldn't want to do that because I would need to apply I want to apply shock, and I almost feel like these guys have a better chance at applying shock. I'll use a 10% shock just in case. I don't know that we're going to leave 10% shocks, but you know what? Let's turn this off. I haven't tested it. I don't know how much shock. I know there should be shock. I just don't know how much shock to expect. Wretched Defilers are not going to shock the enemy because they aren't critting. Whereas our zombies will occasionally crit and as such occasionally apply shock. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Level 94. Do we want to... Is there any point we can reduce? I don't think there is. I think everything is literally... Oh. There. 93. And we can technically save points here if we're to go here, but then we lose early res. I think level 93 is fair. 1 mil DPS. We're going to remove that. Again, I don't think we can accurately get this, so I kind of don't want to even put it there. So because how accurate do I think this is? It might be accurate. Let me see something. Who made Wretch Defilers? PoE, Frisia, Wretched Defiler. I think Wife Dota made Defilers. Oh no, these are Frostbearers. God damn it. With Frostbearers, it's kind of easy to tell. All right. In that case, is that how much damage it says he was doing at Doriani levels? If I said they were going to get hit by 4 projectiles per defiler, and I think he had 6 defilers, that'd be 24. 32 mil DPS. Is this 32 mil DPS? Yeah, he has 6. This is Uber. But yeah, Regifilers creates this is insane that he can do ball phase with minions. I can't for the life of me. Now he's tanky, but I can't for the life of me. Yeah, that looks more like me, you know? That looks more like my Syrian my Uber Exarch runs. I think we're returning Proj nerf. I'm just not going to even bother using it. And that's why you don't do it to respect us. It is a pain. Do I believe that's 32 mil DPS? It's honestly believable. But here's the thing, he didn't set his shit up for POB, so he doesn't have return proj. He doesn't have returning proj config and stuff like that. No returning proj, no. He also just used puppeteer, so he had life reservation at the start. Let me look at other POBs to damage ratio. You know who I should be checking out? Who is this? What's his name again? Is it Le? What is your YouTube name, my guy? He's been in... I'm trying to remember his... You know what? Let's see this. Discord. There we go, Lee Hole. That's the one. Is your POB in here? No, no, it is not. Because there it is. Marcel, thank you for the follow. How you doing? T17 is not the best judged, but I also know he sent it's... He had some tests in... Let's check. There's T17. Okay, this is T17 and Ubers. I think this one starts off with Ubers. So this has to be T17s. Zero clarity because Reg the file say so. Okay, Uber Exarch. Yeah, that is a lot of damage. That is way more than... So now let's see if this can be translated into POB accurately. I'm praying that we get the Storm Conduits from the offlane back. I mean, they'd be giga for shock application. I also kind of just want to play around with them, especially with the new CDR mod. But at the same time, I don't know how impactful that CDR mod is going to be, being only 20%. That is my only, I guess, pet peeve with them. So let's see, include these. Reg defiler, lightning proj. Each proj is doing 884k. Let's say minions deal 40% more damage. 1.2 mil. So again, if I say, I mean, there are 8. How many defilers does he actually have? Does he have non-defilers is the question. No, he doesn't. So that's 8. 8 defilers. So 4 times 8 would be... Why is my brain not working? 32. I don't believe this is 11.9 Uber DPS. If I say there was one more proj hitting, so that would be 40. 14.8 Uber DPS. More believable, I guess. More believable. I mean, there's also the fact that like Serin Exarch is also on the bigger side, so he might just be eating more projectiles. But like saying this is saying 5 in a volley of 9 projectiles, you're eating 5 to and fro, which I don't I don't know how accurate it is, especially seeing as red defilers tend to move back and like they tend to retreat a bit. So there is like, we'll look at some of that Uber. So like there is a bit of distance between them and the enemy. So I don't think they're hitting 5 projectiles each. I just don't think that's happening. So yeah, I'm inclined to just say screw using POB numbers and just, I don't think I can accurately use POB numbers. Don't save. Don't save. Going for Doriani? Yep. Going for Doriani Reg Defilers, I think. I'm also hoping when it comes to the all flames, or not even just all flames, just this season in general, I'm hoping with the new influence maps, we actually have some influence monsters that we can specter. I suspect, I mean, we didn't see anything new from the trailer, any new monster types. Even when doing the quest for, was it Xana's brother? I didn't see any new monster types. I think they were using like goats and scorpions and stuff, which are already in the game. But hopefully there's like new monster types that we can play around with and maybe find something there. And if we get Storm Conduits back and the belt mod's max range is not 20% increase cooldown recovery rates, then we can probably consider making something like that, because at 20 something, at being 20% increased cooldown recovery rate, that is literally just going to be 12 seconds CD firing back correctly. I think it's 12 seconds divided by 1.2, 10 seconds CD for its big nuke. That's assuming I remember it properly. I don't know that I remember it properly. I think I do. Could be wrong. I think I do. So Helmbreaker plans on going Svalin very early, or as early as possible, is what this looks like, because this POB is using a +1/1, a +2 helmet, it looks like. Still using Bones of Volur, but has his Svalin. I feel like Svalin is going to be very expensive, is the thing. Like, genuinely, I think it's going to be very expensive. It was expensive enough during Frisia. Like, I think in Frisia it was like 13 divines. It was like 8 to 13 divines early on, depending on your role. And then eventually it dropped to like 4-ish divines, 3-ish divines, depending on your role. I don't think this is something we can get too early. Anyways, I think what I have is a decent starter POB. It's not using too many jewel sockets. The jewels that are being used are reasonable, literally mid-roll lightning and accuracy. Remove that from the full DPS. Everything is cheap. Also takes into account some. Can I put this like on your side, please? Why do you have to be down here? My minions don't use any charges, right? No, they don't. It takes into account per coastal, layer cast, and dying breath on the mercenary. And then everything else, I think I'm just going to make... I'm going to make the mercenary... I could do Windscream, Ellie weakness, curse on his gloves. But like, I don't want to take too many of his slots because I don't want him to be squishy to the point where he's dying. You know, kind of don't want that. And defensively, what do I have for him? Aura wise, I have Purity of Elements. That's it. So he just has early res coming from me and immunity to ailments. He doesn't have any determination auras. I mean, I guess I could be getting determination aura from him as well. And potentially war cries. Hopefully war cries are not that rare. Same with auras, we'll have to see. I'm not going to plan around having it though. And we also wouldn't know how strong it is. So... with Soul of Grotcore, we also have a lot of PDR when we are mapping. Have a decent phase max hit pool when we're mapping as well. Then we evade, right? Evade is decent, 2,800. Yeah, it's decent. Block is 65, 69. Again, decent. Nothing revolutionary, but decent. If I can go for a +2 helmet, there's a universe where I can go for a strength based shield that has block chance, and that'd be cheaper. But +2 helmet would be a few divines, so I don't want to plan around having that too early. I want to swap the useless masteries to here. By useless, I mean they just don't apply to me. I could do Petrified Blood, you know. Like starting out with Petrified Blood, I'd have to use a Life Flask and Rislata. But I'd have Perma Leech going on at all times. Moment I fall below half, Leech pushes me back up to half. Then I can drink a flask, go to full health, and Leech should be a lot stronger with that. But I feel like it would be slightly awkward. Slightly. That's interesting. Leveling tree. Guard skill is not always up, so he turned off guard skill, but he left on his flasks. Probably a mistake. Anyways, I don't like the idea of an unset ring early. Unironically, I'm using it, but I don't like the idea of an unset ring. And the reason I don't like the idea of an unset ring, wait, I forgot I was using an unset ring. What can we fit it on our unset ring? There was something I wanted to try fitting in terms of reservation, I think. And I just decided I didn't need to. So I guess I can go back to a regular ring. Right? I'm not forgetting anything, right? Surely it's not important. And I'm about to gimp myself by forgetting what I was trying to put in that ring. I suspect it had to do with when I still had this note taken, these 3 points. It probably did too. The spell block chance is also just really nice to have. I don't know. I can think of a number of things I would like to have, but I don't want to. You know what? Screw it. We're going to plan around having the mercenary not die. Too easy. We'll plan around the mercenary not dying too easy, and we're going to build him like an AG. Now, if there's a situation where he's dying more so than he should be, then we'll have to like go back to the drawing board and look at this again. But for now, I don't want to play it too conservative because we need all the power we can get, and these are cheap upgrades. Because like literally what all I'm thinking about here is I'm thinking about going plus wind scream, which is plus curse boots, and then early weakness on heat gloves, and only caring about like 1 stats, a res or something. And I think I already have a lot of res. I have a lot of res on my aura, less so on his gears so far. Clear casts. Let me see. Dying Breath has no whatchamacallit, no life or anything like that. Clear casts as it does have life, but no res. What else did I say I was going to give him? I feel like that was it, right? Wrong one. Dying Breath, Lyric has Perkle's Toe. That's the one. Perkle's Toe. No res. It does have rarity, but no res. Also has dexterity and a lot of it. There is a universe I use Perkle's Toe just because of the movement speed, but I think dropping Jinx Juju is troll. I don't think that's an option. But it would have been nice for the movement speed and the dexterity. We have a lot of empty suffixes for dexterity, so I'm not really worried about that either. And we have a lot for res, even though we're using purity of elements. So again, not really worried about res and suffixes. We have enough strength, we have enough int. Only thing we need from our gear is dexterity and res. Ooh. Now that we are opting to do what we're doing, i.e. flesh offering, Mistress of Sacrifice is looking like less of an option. I mean, this is not an option either. Plague Bringer is probably going to be what we do. We'll do Plague Bringer. And because of that, we just need to have a nearby corpse. So that means we need to also rearrange our Arcanist brand to be Arcanist brand offering Arcanist brand flesh offering. It needs to be in this order. Desecrates, conductivity. It could even be the other way. It could even be conductivity, flesh offering, desecrate. Probably better. Conductivity, flesh offering, desecrates. The reason the order is important is this is the order it is going to use the spells in. Conductivity first, then the offering is going to fill the offering on single target where there's no corpses, and then desecrate spawns the corpses to then go over. And the reason this is important is just to maximize Plague Bringer. Now we're slightly tankier, and I think we're fine where we are, and we also have slightly more damage. So give me a second and I shall be right back. I am back. Out of curiosity, may I ask something unrelated to PoE? Shoot, go for it. Do you fix Spectre Wisps from last night's patch? Yeah, I hear playing minions is a lot better in the patch. Though I also heard there is a nerf to minions as well. In that, what was the nerf again? The nerf was that the curse modifiers that used to be on the player, that used to be applied throughout the map, they changed that apparently. And now instead of that applying on the player, it's now like ground curse zones, kind of like burning ground. But like now their effect is a lot higher or something like that. So now minions actually get affected by it. Yeah, exactly. So like minions now get hit by temp chains and it feels bad from the people who are actually engaging with the game. I haven't opened it and I have zero plans on opening it, but power to them. A Canadian store's really empty of American beers and beverages. I just remember that there was this one city who had big beer prices. I got curious. Beer specifically, I don't think they're empty, but it's just going to be more expensive with the tariffs and everything. Like, we still have American products, they're just more expensive, so you're less likely to buy it because they are cheaper alternatives, you know? That's kind of where we're at, but they're not empty of American products. Necromancer is the only way forward. I mean, well, that is not entirely true anymore because Guardian is actually kind of competitive now with their 50% RMR node, which is insane. 50% RMR is that is not a level of RMR we're used to. Like even this guy who was known for mana stacking and everything only had what, 25%? Where was it? Yeah, only had 25% mana reservation. I mean, maybe they're talking about a particular store, maybe, but like in general, no. We still have American products on our stores. I think I like where the POB is, to be honest. For a Leaguestart, hitting 1 mil DPS without our main damage source, which is supposed to be our Spectres, is kind of big. Our Spectres are level 25, a level 20 gem as well. So we don't even have to worry about getting it, like going out of our way to buy a level 21 gem because that'd be expensive. Summon Skelly, Vast Summon Skelly, not the most expensive. Now, we do have quality on this guy. Getting a Vast Summon Skelly with quality might take a bit, so maybe not. Same with you. So realistically, I might have one less of these if I don't have the quality. Okay, that's good to know. No, zombie, I'll have quality because it doesn't have to be corrupted, but this guy will probably not have quality. Most likely not. So these are my defensive stats with literally no gear. I think that's fair. I think this is a fair amount of damage to have. This is dirt cheap, nothing. And this is ignoring, again, 4 Wretch Defilers. That said, we would then need to have Raid Lord to go into anything beyond this. I also need to plan for budget levels below this, which would involve me doing an Act 1 to 10 playthrough to test the leveling of this again. Because I have tested this in the past, but that was in the past. Well, heck, Guardian, it's hard to get rid of it. I mean, Guardian has been so underwhelming in comparison since they introduced Leech to Necromancer, and even now it would take a lot of inspiration for me to go Guardian over Necromancer, but like it is still a fair choice, especially if, and this is a big if it is possible that the Reanimator mercenaries minions are actually halfway decent, then you can just go for an Aura bot playstyle alongside your minions and their minions and have a bigger minion army than you ever could, and a lot of like aura scaling and triple free elemental aura and just profits. That is something you could do. So only thing is you would have to skip Bastion of Hope if you want this guy, so you might have troubles capping your block. Other than that, you're chilling. All right, I think I'm fine with this. Level 93. If I could, I would reduce the amount of points I'm spending, but I don't think I can. Not really. I've tried it multiple times. There just isn't an easy way to do it, I think. Okay, yeah, we'll go with this, and we'll during next stream we are going to figure out, well, we're going to POB the high budget, and we're going to figure out the leveling. I don't know if we can do all of that in one stream, but I think the priority would be high budget. Let me know what I'm doing in terms of physical damage, because physical damage mitigation is still a concern for me. Figure out physical damage on the high end, figure out how I want to address the lightning damage conversion, if I want to relegate or delegate the Doriani to my mercenary or not. I probably wouldn't, just because of the fact that Mana Siphoner would then murk him, like just absolutely destroy him, and I don't really like the idea of that. And if I don't do Eyes of the Great Wolf and I instead go for what's the name of the Mahozoto machination for him, then I have to deal with him not having any form of regen, because Mahozoto didn't get a change as far as I'm concerned. Let me just confirm real quick on the patch notes. Mahozoto, it's literally not in the patch notes. What about Valpact? Not in the patch notes. Yeah, so it didn't get a change. It still cannot be used well on the mercenary. But yeah, I will be back on Monday with more POB and potential league start prep. I say potential because I might not do the leveling itself on Monday. Short stream. Is it? I mean, it's the typical stream time for Saturday. Not the longest, but also not the shortest. Anyways, I'll be back on Monday, and yeah, basically on Saturdays I start early and I end like typically when I start stream, kind of is the situation. Anyways, I'm digressing now. Monday, the plan is to figure out high budgets. Then if we have time, mess around with low budget. And if we don't have enough time, then we might start and then continue on Tuesday. But by Tuesday, high budget leveling should all be figured out. And from there, we can just play around with different ideas until Friday. But anyways, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you guys. I shall be back on Monday. Until then, have a good night.